You don't choose this life because you want it. You choose it because the village elder is standing at your door holding a leather-bound book, and the family 3 farms over just buried their youngest daughter after she spent 6 days screaming about shadows crawling from the walls. The year is 1645. You're 23 years old. Your father was a magistrate. You can read Latin, which already puts you ahead of 90% of the population. The elder tells you they need someone educated, someone who understands the law, someone willing to do what others won't. The previous witch hunter died last winter. Some say it was pneumonia. Others whisper he got too close to something he shouldn't have. They're offering 20 shillings per town, plus expenses. That's more money than you'd see in 6 months doing anything else. You take the book. It's called the Malleus Maleficarum, The Hammer of Witches, published in 1487 by a German inquisitor who spent his life hunting servants of Satan. You read it cover to cover in 3 days. It teaches you everything. How witches make pacts with the devil, how they fly to midnight gatherings, how they curse crops and kill livestock and poison wells. Most importantly, it teaches you how to find them. Your first case arrives within a week. A widow named Catherine. Her neighbors say she mutters to herself at odd hours. Say her cat watches people with eyes that gleam too bright. Say the baker's son got sick 2 days after he refused to give her bread on credit. You arrive at her cottage with 2 assistants. She's 70 years old, bent over from a lifetime of fieldwork. She looks terrified. You search her home first, that's protocol. You're looking for poppets, strange herbs, anything that might be used in harmful magic. You find a bundle of dried flowers hanging from the ceiling. Lavender mostly. She says it helps her sleep. You find a small wooden figure carved to look like a person. She says her dead husband made it for their daughter 40 years ago. You write everything down in your ledger. Every detail matters. Courts require documentation. Then comes the examination. You tell her to remove her clothes. She starts crying. Your assistants hold her arms while you search every inch of her body for the devil's mark, a spot where Satan touched her to seal their pact, a place that won't bleed or feel pain when pricked with a needle. You find a mole on her left shoulder blade. You press a bodkin against it. She flinches. It bleeds. Not a witch mark. You find a scar on her thigh. Old, probably from childhood. You prick it. She screams. You move on. 3 hours later, you found nothing conclusive. But the neighbors are outside waiting for answers. They've already decided she's guilty. If you declare her innocent, they'll riot. If you declare her guilty without proof, you're no better than a murderer. So you do what the manual teaches. You use the swimming test. They bind her thumbs to her opposite toes. The position makes it nearly impossible to stay afloat. They throw her in the river. If she sinks, she's innocent. If she floats, the water is rejecting her because she's made a pact with darkness. She sinks. You pull her out before she drowns. She's innocent. The crowd disperses, disappointed but accepting your judgment. Catherine never speaks to you. She just limps home, soaking wet, humiliated beyond words. That night, you can't sleep. You keep seeing her face, but you tell yourself you did the right thing. You followed the process. You used the tests the church approved. You saved her life. Most witch hunters would have found a way to declare her guilty. You didn't. That has to count for something. Your second case is different. A young woman named Elizabeth. Multiple witnesses say they saw her shape at midnight, flying toward the forest. Others say their children got sick after she touched them. One man claims his cow stopped giving milk the day after he refused her marriage proposal. You examine her. You find a strange mark behind her ear, perfectly round, insensitive to pain. When you prick it with the bodkin, nothing happens. No blood, no reaction. She confesses after 2 days of sleep deprivation. That's another technique from the manual. You keep suspects awake, walking them in circles until exhaustion breaks down their resistance. She admits to meeting the devil in the woods, says he appeared as a handsome man in black, says he promised her power and revenge against those who scorned her, says she attended midnight gatherings where witches danced and plotted against good Christian folk. The confession is detailed, specific. She names other witches in nearby villages, describes rituals you've only read about in books. The magistrate is satisfied. The trial takes 3 hours. The jury convicts her in 20 minutes. They hang her the next morning. You watch the execution. That's part of your duty. Making sure justice is served. Making sure the community is protected. She's still proclaiming her innocence when the trap door opens. You go home and drink until you can't remember her face anymore. 6 months in, you've investigated 23 cases. 12 ended in executions. The other 11 were declared innocent after examinations and tests. Your reputation grows. Towns send for you specifically. They pay extra. They provide better lodging. They treat you like you're protecting them from invisible evil. But something shifts inside you around case number 15. A farmer's wife accused because she had a better harvest than her neighbors. You examine her hands. Calloused from work. Nothing unusual. You check for marks. Nothing. You interview the neighbors who accused her. Their stories contradict each other. One says she cursed their well. Another says she flew over their barn. A third claims she turned into a black cat. None of it holds up under scrutiny. You declare her innocent. The husband who paid for your services is furious. He demands a refund. Says you're not doing your job properly. Says everyone knows she's a witch. You refuse the refund and leave town that night. Word spreads. Some villages stop calling for you. They want witch hunters who deliver results, not ones who ask too many questions. Your income drops. You start accepting cases you would have rejected before. Marginal evidence, weak testimonies, personal vendettas disguised as spiritual warfare. Case number 27 changes everything. A girl, barely 13, accused by her stepmother of causing the family's baby to die. The stepmother wants her gone, that's obvious. But the local magistrate insists you investigate. The fee is generous. You examine the girl. She's terrified, shaking so hard she can barely stand. You find a birthmark on her shoulder blade. Dark, irregular. Could be interpreted as a mark, could be nothing. You walk her for hours, denying her sleep. She's delirious by morning, babbling about dreams and shadows. Not a confession, just exhaustion talking. You write in your report that the evidence is insufficient. The magistrate reads it and tears it up in front of you. He tells you to examine her again. Tells you every town needs an example. Tells you the stepmother is his cousin, and he promised her results. You refuse. You pack your things and head for the door. 2 guards block your exit. The magistrate makes it clear. Either you find evidence or you become the suspect. They've seen you defend too many accused witches. Maybe you're protecting your own kind. Maybe that's why you're so reluctant to see the obvious signs. You understand the game now. You were never hunting witches. You were hunting scapegoats. The magistrate doesn't care about Satan or protecting souls. He cares about family politics and keeping his cousin happy. You examine the girl again. This time you use the bodkin on the birthmark. You press hard enough to draw blood, proving it's sensitive. You declare her innocent based on the test results. You do it loudly in front of witnesses so the magistrate can't easily contradict you without looking like he's interfering with established methods. The girl is released. You leave town immediately knowing you've made an enemy of someone with power. Your reputation shifts. Towns that want actual investigations still call you. Towns that want rubber stamps for predetermined verdicts hire someone else. You're fine with that. The pay is worse, but you sleep better. 3 years in, you've investigated 62 cases, 24 executions, 38 acquittals. That ratio makes you unusual. Most witch hunters have conviction rates above 70%. Yours is below 40. Some call you soft, others call you thorough. You don't care what they call you as long as you can look at yourself in the mirror. Then the letters start arriving. Anonymous, threatening. Someone knows where you live, knows your routine, warns you that protectors of witches eventually reveal themselves as witches. You hire protection. A former soldier who asks no questions and watches your back. The threats escalate. Your horse is found dead one morning, throat cut. A message carved into your door. You're being hunted now. Experiencing what your suspects experience? The paranoia, the constant fear, the knowledge that someone wants you dead and you can't see them coming. You take a case in a distant town where nobody knows your face. A woman accused of causing her neighbor's son to waste away from mysterious illness. You investigate. The boy is sick, truly sick, but it's consumption? You've seen it before. Nothing supernatural about it. The neighbor doesn't want to hear it. She's already convinced herself that witchcraft is easier to accept than random tragedy. You examine the accused woman anyway, find nothing, declare her innocent. The neighbor attacks you in the street, screaming that you're in league with Satan. The crowd believes her, they're already afraid, already looking for someone to blame. You become that someone. They bind your hands. They throw you in the same cell where the accused woman waited. The magistrate who hired you won't meet your eyes. He's already writing the report that will justify what comes next. Your assistant tries to intervene, but he's outnumbered. You tell him to run, save himself. He refuses. They arrest him too. You're examined by another witch hunter, someone you trained with years ago. He finds a scar on your back from a childhood accident, declares it a witch mark. You explain it's from falling off a roof when you were 8. He doesn't care. He needs a confession. They walk you for 3 days straight. You collapse twice. They drag you to your feet and keep you moving. By the 4th day, you'll confess to anything if it means you can sleep. But you don't. You stay silent, refusing to give them words they can use. The trial lasts 2 hours. The evidence is your own methods turned against you. Your low conviction rate proves you were protecting your fellow witches. Your defense of innocence was actually coordination with a demonic network. Your investigation techniques were really ways to identify and warn other servants of Satan. The jury convicts you in 15 minutes. They schedule your execution for dawn. You spend your last night in a cell smaller than a grave, listening to rats scratch in the walls. You think about every person you examined, every test you performed, every judgment you made. You wonder how many were actually guilty of anything beyond being inconvenient or different. You realize the answer doesn't matter anymore. The system was never about truth. It was about fear and control and giving frightened people someone to blame when the world felt chaotic. You were just another cog in that machine, and now the machine is grinding you down too. They come for you at sunrise. You walk to the scaffold with your head up. No confession, no begging. Just silence. The noose goes around your neck. The crowd watches. Some faces you recognize. People you saved. People you cleared. None of them speak in your defense. Fear keeps them quiet. The floor drops. The witch hunter who convicted you watches from the crowd. He looks satisfied. He'll collect his fee and move to the next town. The cycle continues. Someone else will take your place, examining bodies for marks that mean nothing, extracting confessions through exhaustion, deciding who lives and who dies based on testimony from neighbors with grudges and birthmarks shaped wrong. You don't see your assistant in the crowd. Maybe he escaped. Maybe he's already in another cell waiting for his own trial. You hope he got out. Hope he learned what you learned too late. That in a world where everyone's looking for witches, the real magic trick is staying invisible. The rope tightens. Your last thought isn't about God or Satan or heaven or hell. It's simpler than that. You think about the widow Catherine, soaking wet, shivering on the riverbank after you pulled her from the water. How she looked at you with something worse than hatred. Disappointment. Like she expected better from someone educated. Someone who could read Latin. Someone who should have known better than to mistake fear for evidence. The crowd disperses before your body stops swinging. They have crops to tend, animals to feed, lives to live. Tomorrow someone else will be accused. The machinery needs feeding. It always does.